We thank God that our journey through the Bible continues and the grace has been sufficient for us. We are now in 1 Kings, and originally 1st and 2nd Kings were one book, and they were known as the books of the kings. These books record the principal events and characteristics of the reigns of kings of Judah and Israel from the death of David. 1 Kings covers the reign of Solomon, the building of the temple, the ministry of Elijah, and the reign of Ahab, and ends with the reign of Jehoshaphat and Azariah as kings. The author of the book is unknown. The key verse of the book is chapter 9, verses 4 and 5. As you read this book, you get a contrast of lives of those who live for God and those who disobey God. And through the history of the kings that reign in Israel and Judah, we clearly see this. We also see the life of Solomon, who led Israel to enter to her golden age of glory. Actually, in chapter 4, verses 20 and 21, it says this glory was so great that they were eating, drinking, and rejoicing as they were serving the king. Jesus also referred to this glory if you read in Matthew chapter 6 and verses 29. We also see a record of great achievements, notably the building of the temple, which took 7 years. And also it is recorded of Solomon, a king who was unable to tame his excesses in lifestyle, which actually caused his downfall. And not only his downfall, but the downfall of the whole nation of Israel, to the extent of it being divided into two. Some of the excesses that you read in this book of 1 Kings is that he took 13 years to build himself a house. He had 700 wives, 300 concubines, and at the end of his story, he disobeyed God by even marrying foreign wives. And these wives influenced him even to worship idols. And because of this influence, the story of Solomon ends with even building altars to these idols to please his wives. The book of 1 King has some points that you need to make note of. That at the end of the book, in the middle of the book, we have 2 kingdoms. Judah, which had 19 kings, and all these kings were descendants of David and reigned for 345 years. And in Judah, there were frequent revivals. And it is also known the southern kingdom. Also, we have the northern kingdom, or Israel, which also had 19 kings. They reigned for 210 years. 8 of the kings were either slain or committed suicide. And you realize that in this northern kingdom, there were no revivals. Jerusalem was the capital of Judah. Israel had Samaria as its capital. The outline of the book is divided into 2 main sectors or sections. One, or A, is the United Kingdom. And as you read from chapter 1, verses 1 to chapter 11, verses 43, you read about a united kingdom Number 1, you see David's last days, which runs from chapter 1, verses 1 to chapter 2, verses 11. 2, the reign of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 12, and it goes up to chapter 11, verses 43. Then B, you read about a divided kingdom, which runs from chapter 12, verses 1 to chapter 22, verses 53. And this is where number 1, you read about the division during the reign of Rehoboam and Jeroboam in chapter 12, verses 1 to chapter 14, verses 31. Number 2, you read about the kings of Judah and Israel and the reign of Ahab, which runs from chapter 15, verses 1 to chapter 22, verses 39. It is also inclusive of Elijah's ministry. Lastly, you read about the reign of Jehoshaphat and Azariah in chapter 22, verses 40 to 53. The insights of the book are many. I've just picked on 3. And one of the main insights as you read this book is that making God the center of your life, all our life, regardless of our wealth, fame, power, and wisdom, is a key thing in life. Solomon failed in this, and he had a tragic end. Number 2, the importance of seeking and following wise counsel. This led to division of the kingdom of Israel as Rehoboam lost his opportunity of leading a united kingdom and split it into 2 because he took the wrong counsel from his peer group. Number 3 is Elijah's life in ministry, which proved in his time that one person plus God in life is a majority. So I pray that as we finish this book, we shall choose to be on God's side and remain on God's side. If God be for us, there is none who can be against us. Shalom, and the Lord God bless.